Hey, welcome to my channel. I've been mostly discussing things here and there a little bit in regards to football. Um, News came out, which kind of surprised me a little bit, is the fact that, and I think this might be true too, because Ja Morant might be available, i.e., the Memphis Grizzlies are open to listening for trade offers for Ja Morant. Now, the question is, like, what team would actually go for it and who has the, put it this way, the draft capital. Let's be honest, it comes down to the draft capital too. I mean, quite honestly, I'm not sure what's going on here in the past 2 years. Like, all these stars that you thought were never going to leave or be tradable are being traded left and right. I mean, like Luka Doncic, I thought he was going to be a lifetime Maverick, and all of a sudden now he's a Laker. I mean, I don't know what happened there. What did the Lakers fleece? Was Nico such an idiot of a? I didn't mean to say idiot, but was he? Well, I guess you could say that from Dallas fans, Dallas Maverick fans, they probably thought he was an idiot for like making that trade because like what was going through his head for that? It was like, oh, we think that Nico, essentially Doncic is Luca's not gonna like be healthy enough, et cetera, et cetera. Then you get a guy from there defense, and he's also talking about defense. So you get AD as a defensive person, but the problem is this is a guy that barely ever plays as much. I mean, he's only on the court pretty much maybe 70% of the time during the regular season, and even in the playoffs as well too. So made no sense there. Now the fact that Ja Morant, now I can understand why Ja Morant, Memphis is looking at it because from the perspective of them, it's a big letdown from an aspect of skills wise. He has that much talent, but the other factor is like I think it's off court personality and his issues that are going on, specifically having a gun and whatnot. And he's always messing around with that, and no one's been like reining him in at that point. I mean, he's in Memphis first and foremost, and the problem is like he's there, and like you get in trouble with all that. If you go to like a major metropolis, let's say L.A., New York, Chicago, Miami, the dude's she's out of the league completely at this point. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Um, I will say this much: it would make absolute sense, and I think everyone's been looking at this, and everyone keeps saying this. It would make absolute sense if Ja Morant were to able to get to the Timberwolves and a backcourt of Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant, I think would propel the Minnesota Timberwolves to the number one spot. Basically, I mean, you would say Oakland, yeah, OKC, the Thunder, still have the top spot, but with him there, oh my goodness, that with basically with Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards, I think that propels them at least to be the team that would most have like potential to surpass the Oklahoma City Thunder. Um, It'd be really surprising too if the Thunder actually were able to get Ja Morant. You got Ja Morant and SGA. Whoa. Anyway, I would love for the Knicks to get him, but we already have a point guard, and we have no salary cap to keep him. So that's the sad part. Um, who else could be? Who else he could go? What other teams could he go to? It makes sense for the Bulls because like the Bulls need someone because like that was a market that Jordan built. And once Chicago goes sort of downhill, like no one really cares. Once Chicago's back up there again, like everyone's suddenly like, "Whoo, look at that." Reality is, I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, it would absolutely make sense if, well, think about it now. Like Atlanta Hawks could get him as well too, but I don't know if that's a good idea as well too, considering like Atlanta. Ooh, this guy's got a gun. For a gun whittling little fool. He's gonna like definitely get kicked out of the NBA. But him and the Bucks, if he were to get traded to the Bucks and he was paired up with Giannis, that would be a scary combo. Quite honestly, that would be a really scary combo. You know what would be the really scary combo outside of Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant? Wemby and Ja Morant. That's a huge, huge combo right there. Like that would definitely put San Antonio at the number one seed overall. Like they would be the team to beat. Quite honestly, um, Philly, yeah, Philly, of course, he would make sense, but he's not going to go to the Lakers. There's no way he's going to the Lakers. If I'm the Clippers, I don't know who you trade for because like I know you're not going to. Minnesota doesn't want Harden, and they're not going to want Kawhi. So like forget that. Uh, Clippers. have no one to. The Clippers are the Clippers. Unfortunately, that's the sad part about it. Phoenix makes sense. New Jersey, I would say the Nets. Granted, him coming to New York. I mean, not New Jersey. The Nets, Brooklyn Nets. I keep calling them the New Jersey Nets, of course, but it's Brooklyn Nets. Oh, that would. I don't know. It's something where I'm not sure, but that would make sense for the Nets because they have, more specifically for the Grizzlies, because the Nets have all that draft capital. They literally have all that draft capital and some players that they could trade at that point, and it's not an immediate turn because it looks like Memphis is willing to rebuild at this point. So if I'm Memphis, I'm looking at the Nets and say, hey, can you give me like, your first 5 round draft picks, maybe 6, maybe 7? We get Ja Morant at that point. And that's why I'd be willing to do that at that point because let's be honest, I mean, like they have all this draft capital at this point, so why not? But I know everyone's gonna say, hey, Miami. He's not going to Miami. As much as everyone thinks he's as good as he is, as good as Pat Riley and Spoelstra is, they're not going to be able to. They're not going to get him. It's going to be very hard for them to get him. Basically, Golden State makes no sense. It would be an overcrowded backcourt. Phoenix probably would, but you've got Booker at that point, so it's quite hard to do there. Boston, you have Brown and Tatum at this point, so I don't know. It'd be way too hard for him to play at that team. Um, Honestly, maybe the Mavericks. They can probably wheel and deal if they can. Hooking him up with Booker. I mean Cooper Flag. Uh, you would have to trade AD, but I don't think Minnesota's willing to take AD. Maybe not. I don't know, depending. But I doubt they would. But probably would make some sense from that perspective. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see at that point. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, because like it's as those like players that are stars, superstar level. What we once thought were untouchables, looks like now they're becoming more and more mainstream and like being tradable to the point where like usually the stars themselves would be demanding the trades, but now it's like the teams are like, yeah, you know what, we're not letting we're the ones that are dictating at this point. Like I think it was trying when the Luka Doncic trade happened, it also told a narrative of basically put the narrative out there that what, we're the owners, we're the team. We define where you go. You're not going to dictate to us where you want to go. We're going to dictate where you're going to go. It'll be interesting to see how that works from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see how this plays out. But reality is, it's the same thing with Giannis as well too. Giannis has been saying he wants out. The Bucks have been entertaining offers, but there's nothing been out there. So reality is like chances are, it's just one of those things where like Memphis just putting it out there to see who's interested and like what people are willing to give up. Reality is they're probably not going to give up. They're going to just use the draft. I'd be really surprised if New Orleans was able to like land him at that point. I mean, honestly, if New Orleans is willing to like give up and trade Zion, if I'm Toronto, I make a play for both these players. Bring Ja Morant and Zion into the play. You have RJ Barrett, who the first top 3 draft picks of the 2019 draft would play a huge factor for the Knicks, a huge factor for the Raptors, honestly, and that might propel them. Actually, to be honest, but I don't know. It's going to be hard for them to do that if they were able to do that. In any case, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts on this. I would love to hear your thoughts. Where do you think Ja Morant might go? Everyone says, I should say, what do you think is the most realistic? I'm saying the most realistic right now is probably the Nets more than anything else. I think the Nets, maybe. Yeah, I would say just the Nets. Maybe Atlanta because they do have after they traded Trae Young, why not? They have that ability to sign him at that point as well too, and sign two max players at that point. So I wouldn't be surprised. So between those two, so let me know your thought. Realistically, who do you think and who do you want them to go to? With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.